Hi, this is Henry Chamberlain. Thanks for joining me again at Comics Grinder. I've got a special treat, Desmond Reed, and this is his new book, The Cola Pop Creams, and it's quite a delight. And take it away, Desmond. I want you to just give us like a quick sketch of a thumbnail of what this book's about.
Of course, and I got to say too, thanks for having me on. This is super exciting, and I'm already having a good time. So, yeah, the Cola Pop Creamies. The short pitch. It's the Monkees meets BoJack Horseman, but it's a book about a five-piece kind of wacky cartoon band. But over the course of the book, you get to see them go on solo adventures, and it's just real sad, just kind of their sad lives. But it's not, I think it's funny and sad. So it's not
Yeah,
a total, yeah,
like BoJack, there's definitely funny moments. Now, I wanted
absolutely.
to do this, get this little bit of housework out of the way. I want to just show folks, compare one of your earlier books, or I guess that is your previous graphic novel. This goes back a ways, those dark New Hampshire woods, and then compare that to the Cola Pop Creams. You can tell just from the covers, they're coming from two very different worlds. And I don't know that you would call the earlier work necessarily primitive because you're going for that kind of look, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And
Um,
I'll show a page from it. And the art is gross out underground comics art. And this is more one of the, I would say this is probably one of the most understated pages that I can show folks.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it feels like another person made that book, but yeah, when I think that's just kind of where I was artistically. Like I've always been like a huge horror fan. So I think
Hmm.
with that book, and also if anyone knows me, they know I basically like just machine gun jokes at people. So I think combining those two together, that's what I was going for with that book. And I think artistically, that's just kind of how I wanted to express myself at that time. Um, However, I don't know if I just got older. I don't know if I had just kind of some different life experiences or something, but it stopped being fulfilling to me. I don't want to like disparage it or anything, but it's not super meaningful. Like the point is to kind of be gross, be weird, be funny. Hopefully it hit those marks. But it just, I don't know. I was working really big at that time, and I've always worked traditionally. So it would take me like a year to kind of get through like what was essentially a gag comic.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, that's not very fulfilling. It's not really like in my opinion, like, you only get one life. You got to spend the time efficiently.
Yeah.
And I just kind of reached a certain point. I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I got to come up with something simpler. I want to write about stuff that, just a little bit more meaningful stuff that matters. Um, but again, I don't want to like knock it. Like it won, like awards and stuff. Like it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. And I learned a ton from doing it, just about self-publishing
Yeah.
and becoming a better artist and everything. But yeah, no, it feels like a different artist did it.
Well, it's
Definitely.
definitely a particular platform or arena, very highly experimental. There's certain things that carry over from this book over to Cola Pop. This idea of little life forms regenerating, that whole thing is so inventive. It's really gross, but really engaging too at the same time, if that's possible.
No, I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm just a weird person. There's no way I can drop that whenever I do, whether it's those dark New Hampshire woods with the Cola Pop Creamies. It's gonna be weird. So
Well,
that's what I
I
come
think
up
that's it's a universal thing. It takes people sometimes. I don't know what to acknowledge it, but we all have that weirdness inside of somewhere.
I hope so. Yeah.
But here's a page, a typical page, or a good example of the. I keep calling them Cola Pop Creams, the Creemees,
Yeah.
Cola Pop Creamies. So where does Creemees come from?
So when I was growing up, I'm glad you asked. When I was growing up, our local, so I grew up in Massachusetts, and our local ice cream place their equivalent of soft serve, they would call it a Creemee. And so I think they like changed ownership or something, so that went away. But like, apparently it was like extremely formative for me, because like even in my adult life, when I order a soft serve, I have to fight back the urge to say Creemee. So I looked it up and I was like, is this like just this one ice cream place? Like, what happened? And apparently that's in Vermont. There's something similar to a soft serve. It's basically soft serve, but I think it's creamier, and it's called Creemee. And it was just a word that just stuck in my head that I really liked. And that's as deep as it goes.
I love that. Because here in Washington State, a cola is called a pop. You can't get around that. So you just say, I want a pop. Although that might be changing. That's what us younger people used to call it, a pop. And I think it's still, but the thing is, there's so many new people coming in. So it kind of, what's the word? It fades away, that it makes it less strong. But yeah, so okay, that makes sense. Creemee. Now this page here, can you tell us a little bit? Maybe walk us through a little bit on the process. This is kind of like a really random page, but is there something that maybe speaks out to you?
So just to sum it up, this is sort of so this is someone asking someone out, and it doesn't go well. And I think it's a random page, but I think it's a good page, because with the Cola Pop Creemees, I wanted to have a lot of sort of ugly moments, a lot of kind of painful moments that people can probably relate to, and feel bad. I don't want to say feel bad about, but but I didn't want to hide anything. I wanted to have these difficult moments that these characters are going through, to make it easier for people going through them in real life. So that's what's going on here. You can kind of see this person's, what's going on in their mind versus what's happening in real life, where they are kind of painting this picture of like, this person's playing hard to get. I totally get what they're doing. It's fine. Here, I'm just going to act on that. And then that is not what's happening. So it's a real drop. And kind of with this book, I didn't want to have everything be super bleak. I wanted it to be funny and hopeful, but then also these bleak moments. So this spread is actually a perfect example of that, of this guy having this hope and then just having it just decimated. Because I think it's more, I've watched stuff that's just super bleak all the way through, and at a certain point, you get numb to it, because you're just getting bombarded with all this bleakness to the point where there's no impact. And so I wanted to do a mix of that. So it would be, so both the jokes would be more impactful and the sad moments. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a How I Met Your Mother kind of setup. So
yeah,
it's great. Well, that's all I have for the samples, but let's just try it. We'll try the drawing thing. Let me give you a prompt and see how it goes, because I think people would like to see your drawings in action. How about this should be easy. A cat with a top hat, and maybe he's smoking a cigar. What do you think?
I'll do it. I'll do it. Let's see. All right. Okay.
Now we're not completely set up for to show the process in as you're doing it, but so I'll chat as you're creating something, desperately trying to create something, which I'm sure you can do, of course. But I had a few questions. I actually had a few questions to ask you. Alternative comics is what I've always called the stuff that we're doing. How is that term doing these days? Are people still bouncing that around, alternative comics?
That's what I call it as well. Yeah, it's funny. The terminology for a lot of things seems to be sort of a big, I don't want to say an issue, but it's something that people I feel struggle with or have a lot of opinions about. Personally, I have no opinions about anything. So I don't know. But like, I think alternative comics is fair because it does describe it. I mean, it's not, I mean, I think when people think of comics, they instantly still probably think about superheroes. So it is important to make that distinction. I think, I don't know, you think about, I know when I Google alternative comics, I get alternative stand-up comics too. So it's a term that I guess we've co-opted, but yeah. I don't know. I would say that well, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I paid you well because that's what I wanted to hear. Because there's been a little bit of a debate about it. I think alternative comics is starting to I don't know, I can't measure this day to day or year to year, but I do believe that term's going to stick. I think among some folks that there's been debate about it, whether it's really useful, but I think superhero comics are so ingrained in people's minds that we do need that term, and it's very useful. The same with graphic novels. There's lots of debate about whether that's more confusing to people, but I don't think so. But another question for you, the evolution of the artist cartoonist or the auteur cartoonist, because that's, well, we can track it, say it really took hold during the 60s, the underground movement. And of course, there's examples going further back, but by the time of the alt comics, the first wave, second wave of alt comics, it really, it's definitely a concept. That's what I'm sure you identify as a artist cartoonist. Am I right? Or
I think so. I don't know. Like I think like yeah.
I think that there's other areas you could be, and you could be somebody who just loves gag cartoons. You could be somebody who just loves web comics, and there's so many web comics that look very similar because people just love a certain look. It's a very slick, minimal look that a lot of people just love to death.
Yeah.
And then there's some people who are striving for to be artists, or they are artists. They have this fine art background, and they understand that comics is an art medium. There's that group.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I say part of it too is like, I know personally a lot of my influences, like I watch a lot of video channels about comic artists, and it seems like everyone has this encyclopedic knowledge. They know everything that has ever come out. I'm not one of those people. I have a lot of, I think a lot of my influences have to do with the illustration and have to do with, animations and things like that. And that's kind of what I like about comics. I feel like, I mean, in the strictest sense, it's pictures and words, and you can kind of do whatever you want. Like nobody's telling you to do anything. You can do whatever you want with that groundwork. So yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think that is what I think.
Okay, that's reassuring because I'm kind of in the same boat. Although I've really made an effort to be well read and know my stuff, it's impossible to know everything. There's certain landmark books that I've only skimmed, and I need to go take a deeper look at. I hate to admit, I've read parts of Persepolis, but I haven't just sat down and just treated myself to reading it all the way through. That's one example.
Yeah, I mean, same here. Yeah, I feel like personally, Persepolis is another one that it's on my list, but I just haven't read it. I feel like I get obsessed with certain creators, and then so I get real into whatever they're doing, and it's almost like horse blinders. Like I don't read anything else. It's just sort of. So someone I've liked for a real long time is Noah Van Sciver. His work. So I'm just obsessed with his stuff, and so that's taking up all my time. I'm not like looking for other artists, which is probably a bad thing, but I don't know. That's just kind of the way I consume it.
Yeah, well, he definitely has a very distinct look, a particular vision, a whole universe of stuff. Maybe down the road I'll have to interview him, but because that brings up a lot of thoughts, because there's certain things of his that I really appreciate, and a few that I have yet to get to. I've not gotten to what's the one about Abraham Lincoln?
Oh, the hypo.
Yeah, the hypo. I have yet to read that one. I really should.
It's good. Yeah, it's good. I really do like people who have like a unique point of view. I feel like I respond more to that than like a genre thing of like, you know, like I only like fantasy, you know, and it doesn't matter who's doing it. I just like the genre. Like I get more into specific people's point of view. Like that's how I like to read comics. But because like not to keep Noah Van Sciver is a good example because he's done a bunch of different stuff, but you can tell it's him every time.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that. So I've got my
Okay, good.
got my cat with the top hat here.
Oh my goodness, that's fabulous.
Just free-handed. I took a liberty and gave him a little cane too. Little
that's
dancing
great. Cane. You can put that into the next Cola Pop Creemees.
An exciting new character. Yes.
Okay, go ahead and give me a prompt if you thought of something.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I've got one. Word is in, we've discovered a new planet. There's life on it. It's humanoid, but it's also rabbit-based.
Rabbit-based?
Rabbit-based, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll work on that. Now, my final question, or one of my final questions, well, we kind of covered this, but maybe there's more we can say. Indie, I think, today more than ever stands for something, because, I mean, I think about how DC and Marvel can there's such a hegemony, and they can bring up a topic. They'll do this. They'll bring up a certain buzzy topic, and they'll get the headlines. And it's also, I don't want to get into trouble, but it's contrived. It's very manipulated. It's very corporate. That has nothing to do with what's going on with the indie world. So there's always going to be a need for the indie world. There's always going to be a need for people to be able to do whatever the hell they want, I guess.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Now, I really set myself up for failure because it's hard for me to pontificate and also pretend I'm drawing.
No, I'm the same way. I feel like even beyond drawing, like when I'm with somebody, like eating dinner or something like that, I'll find that I've been talking for 2 hours and my plate hasn't been touched. Like it's hard to do both things.
That always would happen to me.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I feel like we're probably on the same page in this way, but it's hard for me to respond to Marvel and DC stuff. It really does seem kind of corporate. It seems kind of polished. And God, I really like somebody just going off and doing their own thing, complete freedom in both what they want to write about, how they're drawing. I know there is like sort of like the Marvel and DC way of drawing and everything, but I don't know. I think so. I'm in like my 30s now, so I grew up watching kind of experimental animation like that. Like when I was a kid, that was when like Liquid Television was around. That's when Beavis and Butthead, the early Nicktoons and everything, where a lot of the good things about that way of drawing were the imperfections. And I feel like those happened during like some formative years, to the point where when something's too slick, it's almost invisible to me. Like I can't really see it. And so I like the weird stuff. I make the weird stuff. Yeah, it's kind of hard to really get into anything but that. Yeah. Well,
that's what drew me to your work, because I especially after looking at the New Hampshire book, I thought this is somebody who is aspiring to something ambitious.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
So where are you heading with the Cola Pop Creemees? What do you see going forward?
So thanks for setting me up. Okay, here we go. I've got a whole picture. No, so the Cola Pop Creemees, I've kind of got a self-imposed gag order on that, but there are plans for that to come out through a publisher, which is the first time that's going to happen. I'm super excited about it. It's my first time working with a publisher, and I think that is slated as of right now, early 2023.
Okay.
But it's I'm pretty pumped. But in the meantime, so that was written during mainly the pandemic. I was posting like a page a day on Instagram, and the Cola Pop Creemees I consider the best of the long stories.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened to the best of the short stories? That's where this comes in. This is Apples. It's a much shorter book. It's like 28 pages. But this, I don't know if you're familiar with MICE here in Massachusetts. Yes, Massachusetts Independent Comic Expo. I've tabled there a bunch of times, but they have a mini grant program, and this actually got a mini grant. So it's going to be coming out. Part of that program is that Radiator Comics is going to distribute it. So I kind of forget. I think the actual like announcement of everything, I think that's November 1st. So that's going to be coming out soon, and I'm super pumped about it. It came out It came out better than I was even expecting, and so that's going to be coming out. And then beyond that, I've kind of been just messing around. Like right now, I'm working on like a zombie story with these characters. I'm just sort of like not to. I'm going to say this. I'm going to risk sounding pretentious, but the Cold Pop Creemees, it dealt with some heavy stuff. And it kind of wears on you. You know, I was kind of in that world for maybe like 9 months. And so for at least a little bit, like I've got other things kind of more in that vein planned. But in the immediate future, I'm kind of having fun, just having fun, you know, to kind of get out of that mindset for at least a little bit before I go back in. And I think that's probably a good idea. Yeah, no, I'm still just kind of plugging away. But in the immediate future, Apples will be coming out. I don't know when this is going to be posted, but I think November 1st is when things get official. So. Oh,
really? Well, yeah. I could hold off on the interview and somehow. I'll just make sure to time it with that. If you might send me a press release.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Let me go ahead and show you mine.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I like the space outside.
I tried to work with what you told me, and so that refers to the world that this rabbit person's coming from.
That's fantastic, and I like that they've developed to the point where they have coffee. They have coffee cups.
Yeah, they're pretty calm about the whole thing. Now, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your process. Is it all hand drawn? Is it larger than the actual book? What could you tell us?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I've kind of got. So I'll back up a little bit. So everything kind of changed once the pandemic hit because I started doing a page a day on Instagram, and so to do that, I wanted to develop a style and a process where I could turn things around very quickly, and so. It started out, I think this is a testament to sort of how solitary cartoonists are. So I had just discovered the blue pencil method, you know, like the pencil that like can't be detected or whatever. Yeah. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was using that. I was just penciling things out. I've always worked traditionally. And so I would take a walk at night. I would think of something. Then I would come home, I would blue pencil it out, and then I would spend the night inking it with micron pens. And at that time, I was just using cardstock because it was just, I don't know, I didn't think it really mattered. So as the pandemic went on, I started learning more about materials, and I got a light box. And so now so the blue pencil was awesome. That was like like my mind was blown. I don't know how I just hadn't heard of it before. But I think when the blue pencil was around, like technology's kind of advanced since then. And so I have like a cheap scanner, but I would do the blue pencil, but it would still kind of show up. So it's kind of like, well, what's the point of this? So I started using a light box where I do a really like I'll do like a little, like just to sort of like space something out. Like I'll have something like that. Yeah. And then I'll put it on the light box. I'll put it, like Bristol board over it. And then I'll do the final, like really kind of detailed work. And it works better than pencils because I don't have to clean anything up in Photoshop. I can just scan it right in because, there's nothing messy. I'm just doing something clean over the thing. I will admit, I sort of had these self-imposed rules that like I would use Photoshop very sparingly. Like if the technology didn't exist in like the 80s, I won't use it. I don't know why I put those rules on myself, but lately I have been using Photoshop to like fill in the pure black areas and to fix mistakes. And it makes me feel sick, but
No.
it's a lot easier. It's faster and easier.
Yeah, you want to be able to speed things up, and why not have things pop a little more if you can?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever, because like a lot of, I know that it's easier to just sort of do things on your iPad. You don't have to scan it in; it's already there and everything. But there's something about, I don't know. There's sort of a textile element to making comics that is enjoyable to me. Like I like having a tangible thing after. I've never really worked with. I guess I've never really tried to do the digital art. But I don't really want to. I don't know. I like getting the pens. I kind of like, again, I like the imperfections. So yeah. I like that. I don't know. I have heard like people talking about, selling originals used to be a big thing. And now a lot of folks don't have originals because they're just digital files. So there's nothing to sell,
Yeah.
A funny element.
Yeah. Well, the selling of originals is still a thing. I mean, people who have them will sell them, but
yeah.
It could always make variations, just limited prints of certain segments from your work. If you have the time to go back, I know when you're in the zone creating the work, it's hard to recreate that energy, but you can manage somehow. You can. I mean, we're artists, so you have to be self-directed. So
absolutely, yeah. It is funny that energy you have when you're working on a project and when you see, you know what you have to do to complete it. Like when I finished this book, I thought I'd be super happy. I thought the town would raise me above their shoulders. I'd be like the big celebration. I felt so bummed out when it was over. It was like, well, what? That was my project. Now it's gone. I thought I'd be like so just like overjoyed when it was over, but I had to like work on smaller projects, sort of like when people work out, the sort of the cool down after. Like I kind of needed to do that. And I've heard other people talk about that too, where I've heard I forget who it was. It was a cartoonist who was like, I finished a book and I felt really bummed out. So now I'm doing an epic that will never end. So I'm just going to keep going. But yeah, there's nothing, I don't know. You really do get in the zone at a certain point. And I guess that's kind of what you're chasing. I guess that's kind of why we do this, or part of why we do this.
Well, the cartoonist that I just interviewed, actually literally yesterday, so I'm getting interviews piling up. I'm spacing them out. Yours, I think, I'll have to space out a week after this one that I'm just about to post. But he is a wonderful, very imaginative guy, Matt McFarlane. And he just did this amazing book about these weird, dark, black jeans that when you put them on, your whole life is transformed. You become this super person. You're energized. You do things you wouldn't normally do. And the pants kind of take over until you can catch up. So you end up in these very dangerous situations if you're not careful. And I know he had a great time doing it. I can feel like he regrets having to maybe bring it to a close, but he has a new one coming out. So you just find something else that has that same or similar energy or whatever that motivates you to keep going.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's fantastic. Also, I didn't know about that book. That sounds like a fantastic premise. but yeah, it's tough. And like, sometimes I just like to do something completely different. So like I'm working on something now that's like kind of a mix between those dark New Hampshire woods and the Cola Pop Creemees. Just to do something different, just because I was so used to kind of the clean style of the Cola Pop Creemees, and I really like doing that. But then it's like, I don't know. There's something about completely changing up that I really enjoy doing. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard once you finish something because you're so. I think that's probably a testament to like that you do care about your work though too. That you're so immersed in it that it actually matters when it's over and it has an impact on you.
Yeah, for sure. God, there's so many other things I could ask you. I feel like we're just getting our first first go at this, and then we're going to get some coffees and come back and get our second win. No. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I wanted to let you know I am a cartoonist. My partner, Jennifer Daydreamer, she's known for her cartoons, her comics, and she's doing other projects right now. But I just want to give her a plug. Not that she wants one. She probably said, why are you even bringing me up? But I have something that's going to be published too. So, but it's hard because you wonder, should it be a publisher or should I self-publish it? No, wait, the publisher, they have a certain set of things that are really great. So I'm happy to be with a publisher, but so I'm dealing with that right now.
It's fun. So sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No.
Do you remember that band that the Yeah Yeah Yeahs?
Yes, I do.
I remember they were they were an indie band straight. They were doing like records, EPs, stuff like that. And then they had that on a major label, Fever to Tell. And in a bunch of interviews, they were like, well, why'd you do that? Like, you were like an indie band. And they're like, well, we wrote this one song, Maps, and we felt like we needed that to reach more people. Like, we couldn't do that the way we were doing it. And I feel like that's kind of where it comes into play, at least for me. Like with the stuff I did in the past, I self-published it and I was okay with that. But with the current book that I have, the Cola Pop Creemees, I pushed that hard because I felt like I was doing something special. And I know my own limitations as a publisher, a self-publisher. I can't reach that many people. I'm just not that good at it. And so that gave me that kind of lit a fire under me where it's like, I'd be doing a disservice to this book and myself for putting all this work into it. If I printed up 50 copies and just figured out, and just did my own thing.
Yeah.
So I feel super it's exciting to be published anyway, but like, I don't know. I was reminded of that band and what they said, where it was sort of like, I'm okay with the other stuff. Who cares? This actually has to be put out. So that's where I was coming from. I don't know if that helps or applies to you at all, but that's kind of where I was at, and I feel good about it.
No, that's very, very reassuring and valuable information for, I'm sure, a lot of folks that tune into these sort of things. There's like a handful of us people like me who are doing this, but and then there's others. I mean, I've done this for so many years, and I've seen like a dog pile of more and more people doing it. And some people, what? It's too many people. Some of you just go away, but everybody wants to do it, and good luck to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's like every creative field. I feel like there are too many people. like it's the same with music. It's every aspect of art. It's just I feel like we're all connected now, which is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but it really. I mean, oh my God, we are just drowning in an ocean of talent out there.
Yeah,
it's hard to stand out. Yeah.
Well, I sometimes will babble on a little bit more than I should. I don't want to get into trouble. I was thinking more of the people who actually review comics, because that's become a thing in itself. And the comics medium is still young, and so it's exciting to be part of it on any level. And you've got some of the grand masters still with us. Art Spiegelman is certainly with us. And that's quite amazing to think we're still living during that, because his was like the first, I guess. I mean, it's arguable as to who actually created the first full-on graphic novel.
Yeah,
and I think I mean, there's a Contract with God, of course.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Contract with God, but Mouse, and it's a toss-up.
I mean, Mouse is great. I mean, I'm not the first person to say this. Mouse is great, but it's. I also like. I think he was just doing it on just like typing paper, right? Like I think like I really liked how simple he drew it. He was doing it on. I think I heard. That might be wrong, but that he was just doing it on typing paper, but to still have such an emotional impact.
Yeah,
that's a real feat. That's really cool. I don't know. Again, not the first person to say this, but
yeah,
that's just how I feel.
It's a very minimal look. I know he wanted to pare things down, and he was a stickler about having the art be the same size as the book. That was one of his.
Oh, interesting.
One of the limitations he set for himself. But I've been reading it again lately, and it's surprisingly vibrant. For me, I think that the pages really hold up really well. So
Yeah.
I'm not the first to say that either, of course.
I know. These classics, like, hey, have you heard about that?
Well, do you have any parting thoughts, Desmond? Anything else you wanted to add?
Just thank you for having me. This was a real thrill. And this is the surprise ending at the end. First interview. My God, this has been super fun. So thank you for that.
Well, there's more to come, I'm sure. And just let me know about when the book officially gets published or is on its way to being published.
Absolutely, I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Well, we'll end it there, and have a great day. And I hope to keep in touch, and maybe I'll do mice one of these years.
That was awesome. Yeah. They, with the pandemic, they've been. I think this year they had like a smaller outside thing.
Oh.
And oh my God, I didn't realize how much I missed doing it. Like it was super fun. But yeah, definitely keep in touch. And if mice pops up next year and it's like a normal thing, that'd be super cool.
Yeah. Okay. Well, take care.
You too. Thanks again. I'm going to leave.